You know it's bad when even the applause feels embarrassed. I'm Ethan Blake, and tonight we explore a speech that tried to inspire and instead perspired from the sheer weight of its own emptiness. It's all grand gestures and hollow promises wrapped in a tone so patronizing it can be used as mosquito repellent. I'll tear through the fake humility, dig into the smug delivery, and pull the curtain on this performance piece pretending to be leadership. Buckle up. This roast comes preheated and ready to serve.
In the first segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected. Yeah. That woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate.
At all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous.
Bill Maher didn't simply disagree with Sunny Hostin. He tore through her arguments and the entire woke Hollywood establishment with the precision of a surgeon and the flair of a seasoned roast master. His takedown was so sharp, so flawlessly delivered, that it left Jaws hanging in stunned silence. What made it even more shocking is that on paper, Maher and Hostin should be allies. They both lean left. But Maher made it abundantly clear he's done playing by the woke rulebook, and he wasn't about to let Hostin off easy.
In the first segment, you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah. So, what exactly did Maher say that sent the woke warriors and Hollywood elites into full-blown meltdown mode? And what does this fiery clash reveal about the growing civil war brewing within the left? Buckle up, because we're about to spill all the tea. And trust me, this is one showdown you definitely don't want to miss.
If I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Bill Maher recently appeared on The View to promote his latest book, but what seemed like a routine PR appearance quickly spiraled into a verbal firestorm. Maher, a longtime liberal voice, stunned the entire panel and viewers by turning the heat on his own side. No one saw it coming. What began as a book tour stop turned into a takedown of the woke mob, with Maher lighting the match. Things ignited when Sunny Hostin attempted to corner him, pressing him on why he was weaponizing the term woke.
It struck me that in the first segment you used the term woke, and you said that woke is what was sort of ruining everything. And I know that you're...
No, I didn't say ruining everything. I said that's why Trump could get reelected.
That's why Trump could get reelected.
Yeah.
So the term woke has been, in my view, co-opted by the right and weaponized and bastardized. And so I was surprised to hear you use the term, because historically, as you know, because I think you're quite brilliant, that woke is a word used by the black community to note that we must be aware of social injustices.
But words
and
migrate.
So why is that a bad thing?
Hostin thought she was playing chess, subtly accusing Maher of hypocrisy, trying to frame him as someone betraying the very culture he came from. But Maher wasn't fooled for a second. He saw right through her setup like looking through glass, and made it clear he wasn't about to fall for the woke mob's favorite tactic, twisting words to corner and discredit their opponents.
It's not a bad thing, and originally that was absolutely a great thing. Alert to injustice. Who's not for that? But words do migrate. Now, I'll use any term you want.
Okay.
Because maybe that is a word that's triggering, and so let's not use that word. I don't know. Want to call it the super far left?
Bill Maher's first move was masterful. He effortlessly sidestepped Hostin's trap by pointing out a simple truth. Words evolve. What woke meant a decade ago isn't what it means today. Maher clarified that he wasn't using the term in its original context, but in the way the far left had distorted it into a symbol of overreach and absurdity. Hostin likely expected to watch Maher fold under the weight of a hypocrisy accusation. Instead, she walked straight into his counter. Maher flipped the script and made her taste the very trap she tried to set.
But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
too dark.
Well, maybe it is, but it's true. I mean, you know, if I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick.
Did you catch that? Here's Bill Maher, an outspoken liberal, openly admitting that he had a major wake-up call when he saw the woke mob openly expressing support for Hamas. Yes, Hamas, the terrorist group notorious for denying Israel's right to exist and openly advocating for its destruction. As if that weren't alarming enough, their ideology has fueled repeated violent efforts to eradicate Jewish people not only in the region, but worldwide. And yet somehow, we now have self-proclaimed woke activists pointing fingers at Israelis simply for existing while aligning themselves with Hamas's horrifying mission. Maher, despite being a lifelong progressive, was stunned by this madness, just like the rest of us.
Well, I mean, it's just astounding to me that they can't tell the good guys from the bad guys. I mean, just morally. I mean, let me tell you, if you're for Hamas, just live in Gaza for a day. And I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean, before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values.
Maher nailed it. Most of the women on The View, including Sunny Hostin, would absolutely choose to live in Israel over Palestine if given the choice. Why? Because Israeli society upholds values far more aligned with American principles, especially when it comes to women's rights and personal freedoms. Maher didn't hold back. He pointed out the undeniable reality. None of the self-proclaimed woke activists would survive 5 minutes living under Palestine's strict oppressive laws that heavily restrict women's freedoms. Yet these same voices are quick to vilify Israel while conveniently ignoring the blatant human rights abuses occurring in Palestinian territories. Maher exposed this glaring contradiction for exactly what it is: performative outrage built on a foundation of double standards. He drew a clear, unflinching comparison between the rights of women in Israel versus those in Palestine, and the woke mob didn't like it one bit. As soon as he forced them to confront this uncomfortable truth, the atmosphere grew tense, the hypocrisy was suffocating, and Maher made sure it was impossible to ignore.
I mean, women have no, I mean, this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place, and a lot of majority Muslim countries around the world. I mean, there is no equal rights as far as speech, dress, opportunities for education, reproductive rights, freedom from sexual violence, freedom from sexual harassment.
The LGBTQ community as well.
Yes. You that too. But you throw around the term apartheid. There is a gender apartheid in a lot of the world where women are second-class citizens. At best.
Maher just delivered another devastating blow by shining a spotlight on the vast gender rights disparities in many majority Muslim countries, the very nations that the woke crowd so passionately defends. Without raising his voice, he essentially challenged Hostin and her allies to board a flight and witness firsthand how women in those regions are systematically marginalized in nearly every facet of society. It was a subtle yet powerful uppercut, one that left Hostin and her panel visibly shaken and scrambling for a counterattack. In classic fashion, they tried to pivot, pulling out the innocent civilians card in an attempt to corner Maher once more. But Maher doesn't fold under pressure, and he certainly doesn't fall for emotional bait. If they thought he'd lose footing, they were sorely mistaken. What they got instead was another dose of reality, courtesy of someone who refuses to be bullied into silence.
Are you at all concerned about the innocent civilians that have been collectively punished and murdered, largely children and women? And are you at all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Hostin realized that Bill Maher had thoroughly dismantled her earlier argument, the one where she questioned why a true leftist like Maher wouldn't support woke culture. In a desperate pivot, she attempted to reframe the conversation, suggesting that Maher was somehow supportive of violence against innocent civilians. This is a textbook tactic from the woke playbook. When logic fails, attack someone's morality. But Maher saw it coming from a mile away and was fully prepared. Rather than taking the bait, Maher fired back with another powerful rebuttal that shattered both Hostin's narrative and the broader woke strategy into pieces. He didn't just defend himself, He exposed the manipulation for what it was. And in doing so, Maher delivered one of his most brilliant counterattacks to date. The move he made right there is one worth noting. He didn't argue emotionally, he argued with facts and reason, leaving Hostin and her talking points in tatters.
Well, that's ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war. Because it's a war, and they were attacked, and they're defending themselves. Now, this is a war. Do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed?
Hostin realized Maher had just incinerated her earlier argument about why a true leftist like him wouldn't support woke culture. So, in a desperate, last-ditch effort, she tried to paint him as someone who supports violence against innocent civilians, a classic woke maneuver. When logic fails, they pivot to moral grandstanding, hoping to shame their opponent into silence. But Maher saw it coming from a mile away. He didn't flinch, didn't stumble. Instead, he launched another devastating counterattack that completely dismantled Hostin's weak tactic and shattered the entire woke playbook into irreparable fragments. And here's the real kicker. Maher's response wasn't just clever. It was a masterclass in how to handle these moral traps with clarity and precision. He exposed the disingenuous framing, kept his cool, and reminded everyone watching why real debate is built on facts, not emotional manipulation. Pay close attention, folks. This is how you stand your ground.
This is the question.
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
So how
Okay,
can we
well,
get out with a ceasefire?
All right, so Hamas needs to be destroyed because they are a terrorist organization who say openly that they want to commit genocide on the Jewish people, on the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means, okay? And they say it very openly. They said, we did this attack. They've attacked Israel 5 times. They've started 5 wars since they were given that land back. They could have chosen to turn that place into any place they wanted to, and they took a lot of money that they took from the international community, and they spent it on bombs and guns and building tunnels. So if they need to be destroyed, how do we do that? It's a war. I don't know how to do that, and you don't know how to do that.
But are you
I assume the
concerned about
Israeli.
innocent lives?
Of course, everybody is, but that's what happens in a war. Here's a way to stop that. Stop attacking Israel.
And there it was. A truth bomb delivered with Bill Maher's signature calm precision. Notice how the entire room erupted in applause. Everyone except Hostin, of course. She felt that sting and sat there like a soaked dog on a freezing Friday night. Maher had just dismantled the woke mindset with such clarity and force that even Hostin's own panelists, along with the presumably left-leaning studio audience, couldn't help but applaud his brilliance. Maher isn't guessing. He knows the woke playbook inside and out, and he exposes its contradictions with surgical finesse. But wait, he wasn't finished. Just when you thought he might let up, he held his best shot for last. When Whoopi asked whether the media skewed the news to fit a specific narrative, Maher's response was nothing short of masterful. It was the kind of answer that silences a room, not with volume, but with undeniable truth. Listen to this.
It's just nothing.
Yeah.
And it's narrative over truth. You know,
Yes.
I mean, it's not like when I hear people talk on either side of it, I always think they're lying. They're just telling me half of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I never trust them anywhere until I check out the other half.
Yeah.
Once again, Bill Maher tore into the woke agenda, this time calling it what he cleverly dubbed the narrative of truth. Because let's be honest, for the ultra-left, truth has rarely been the priority. Their real mission? Forcing their narratives down everyone's throat, no questions allowed. When truth becomes inconvenient, it's tossed aside in favor of ideology. And anyone brave enough to challenge that narrative, canceled, discredited, and erased from the conversation. That's exactly why Maher refuses to hop aboard the woke bandwagon. He sees it for what it is, a vehicle for people with hidden agendas, determined to erode the cultural and traditional foundations that America was built on. His boldness sent shockwaves through the studio, and interestingly enough, it even earned him nods of respect from some on the right. But did you catch Sunny Hostin's face during all this? She looked like she'd just seen a ghost, wide-eyed, uneasy, desperate to reclaim control of the moment. And of course, she wasn't about to let Maher walk away with the last word. In a final effort, she accused him of abandoning his liberal woke roots. But Maher, ever the quick-witted tactician, had the perfect comeback, locked and loaded.
There's old school liberals, which I would mostly count myself as, old school conservatives. There's still some of those
You've
left.
changed, though.
Wait, what are the other two?
Go ahead.
What are the other two?
Well, that's what I. Well, that's what I was trying to find out in this book. I don't think
Yeah.
I have. And you know, we were saying in the break we have to come up with a new word for woke. Let's have a contest because this is a word that's triggering. But I mean, those concepts that are different than they were 5 years ago.
Maher was essentially declaring that he's an old school liberal, someone who believes in genuine social justice, the kind that helps people rise up rather than wallow in their misery. He emphasized that his values stand in stark contrast to the modern woke mob, who, in his view, seem to believe people should be coddled in their suffering, even when that suffering is clearly harming them. To make his point crystal clear, Maher painted a powerful picture. An old-school liberal would do everything possible to get a homeless man off the street and into a safe, dignified shelter. But the woke crowd? They'd rather leave the man sleeping on the sidewalk, insisting that society adapt around his suffering, and branding anyone who dares to question it as heartless or worse, worthy of cancellation. It was a brutal critique, delivered with Maher's trademark clarity and conviction.
Homeless was a term that I thought we kind of came up with because people were calling them bums and vagrants and hobos.
Yeah, now that's
homeless.
the word.
Now,
It's
no.
It's unhoused.
Well, it's
now.
people
Unhoused.
experiencing
Unhoused.
homelessness. But they're experiencing it on the street.
Yeah.
Okay, the liberal view of that was for compassion's sake. We're the liberals, we're compassionate. Let's get these people off the street.
Yeah.
That's not the view of the, whatever word we're going to come up with for this. Their view of the homeless is they're an endangered species that needs to be protected in their natural habitat, living their best life under a bridge.
Maher's bravery, wit, and razor-sharp sarcasm during his appearance on The View were nothing short of masterful. Viewers across the board flooded social media with praise for the comedian, applauding how he fearlessly put the woke mob in its place with poise and logic. One fan wrote, "I've never seen anyone dismantle the liberal woke narrative so calmly and eloquently while leaving the View panel absolutely speechless." That sentiment echoed across thousands of comments, where users hailed Maher's performance as a masterclass in ideological clarity. Others chimed in to call out the blatant hypocrisy of modern woke culture, particularly how The View frames the news. One commenter wrote, "Unbelievable. The hypocrisy of these women is staggering. They complain about the media not showing both sides, yet 90% of the media already leans their way. And they never allow the other side to be heard on their show." Sunny Hostin, in particular, came under fire for her manipulative debating tactics. As one viewer put it, Sunny needs to stop putting words in people's mouths, claiming they said things they never did. That's total gaslighting. From the moment Hostin tried to corner Maher, he handled the situation like a seasoned veteran, calm, calculated, and utterly unflinching. What was intended to be a routine promotional segment quickly turned into a blistering critique of woke ideology. The View's panel clearly didn't see it coming, and judging by their stunned reactions, they're still feeling the heat. But Maher didn't stop there. He took the opportunity to aim his sharp tongue at President Joe Biden as well, pointing out concerns about Biden's advanced age and how it might affect his performance as commander-in-chief. In typical Maher fashion, he didn't hold back. And once again, the audience found itself stunned by his brutal honesty.
Biden just presents as old. It's not really fair.
No.
Because he's almost the same age. Trump is almost the same age as him.
I know.
But Trump doesn't present that way. You know, you look at somebody right away, you can kind of just sum them up. I mean, we are not young, but we don't present as old.
Yeah.
Biden does. I saw him yesterday making that speech.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, he's cadaver-like.
Ouch! That one had to sting. Being labeled as incompetent and unfit to run the most powerful nation on earth is already harsh, but being subtly compared to a lifeless cadaver while you're still alive, that's next-level roasting, pure masterclass in satire. It also feeds directly into a widely circulated theory that President Biden isn't the one truly making decisions in the White House. Instead, many speculate he's simply a figurehead, with the real power brokers pulling strings from the shadows. Bill Maher's appearance on The View wasn't just a mild headache for the woke crowd, it was a full-blown political migraine. His razor-sharp rhetoric, scathing logic, and brutal one-liners left Sunny Hostin visibly shaken, as if praying for the studio floor to open up and rescue her. By the time Maher dropped his final truth bomb, Hostin's arguments had crumbled into dust, and the woke mob's carefully crafted narrative lay in ruins. They never stood a chance. And with that, we wrap up today's video. If you enjoyed this unapologetic takedown of the hypocrisy and performative outrage, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. See you in the next one.